All right, Aaron. Thanks for coming to the podcast. I really appreciate you reaching out to me. You're actually one of the first people who's ever, actually reached out to me. Especially like being like one of the more popular tackle companies out there. Like it's hard to get a hold of those guys. I've tried a few times to reach out to people, but to have someone reach out to me, I really do appreciate it because it's nice to get different kind of people on the show instead of just the competitive angler or the basement drunks that I usually bring on here. Whatever. So I really do.
I might be both. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's that kind of show, man. It's that kind of show. But,
well, I appreciate it, man. We reached, as I said, we were just talking before we jumped on. I mean, I reached out to you because one of our pro staff guys was like, "Hey, like it might be cool for you guys to connect," and I shot you a quick DM, right? Like, I think that's one of the things that people are blown away by. In general, is like it actually is me on our texts. So someone texted me, like it was actually me that like DM'd you. You and I texted back and forth, like you know what I mean. Like it's like real people versus
right.
Just like you talked about, like some of the other brands and people are out there, and yeah, it's because we love it just as much as everybody else out there who's thinking in December, January about catching one. So
well, cool, man. Well, first time on the show, you got to introduce yourself, just kind of who you are, what you've done. We're going to talk about Woo and fishing. It's a fishing podcast, but some other stuff besides the fishing part of yourself.
Yeah, man. So name's Aaron Anders. Own and operate Woo Tungsten. I've got an awesome partner, Chris Van Vliet, in the business. Great friend of mine. Fantastic wife, 2 little boys that seem to love it. Their bath toys are top water lures, so that's the way our house rolls. So just a lot going on. I've run businesses since I was little. I mean, I was the one, I was 8 years old, dragging a cooler on a wagon through construction sites, like selling soda to construction workers and all sorts of different things, right? Like that's just kind of always been how it's been for me. And always fished with my dad growing up for fun. And then we learned about some of these like bass tournaments when I was about 12. And then you take kind of like the competitiveness, like sport and all that different stuff, into the love and the passion for the outdoors, and you like put them together. And man, it was like, it was just, like nothing else. So started fishing a lot of competitive tournaments when I was like 12, 13. Then I got my driver's license, and it was like game on. Like the best thing that could have happened to my parents is that I fell in love with fishing, because it's hard to get in trouble when you're leaving at 5 a.m. to go to some random lake, and just fished a ton growing up. Basically lived in a boat all summer. I'm from the north, so it freezes where I am, and so all winter would just think about tournaments and where we're going. And that's how I met my partner that I run Woo with. We actually went to college together, but we knew each other from fishing beforehand and reconnected through college, and just continue. We started fishing tournaments together, and that's just been a big piece of my world. Like the outdoors has always been there. I'm in a different chapter of my life right now, like I said, with 2 little ones, but having a ton of fun with that, and a ton of fun growing Woo, and just being a part of the world right now, that fishing world and fishing community, and building as much as we can. So that's kind of the the storybook chapter 1 of my world.
Well, where up north are you, or where were you? Are you still in the north?
Oh, I'm in the north, man. I wish I was in the south right now.
I'm in the north. I'm in upstate New York. The lakes are frozen.
Yeah.
So where you at?
I'm a couple hours north of you. I actually live in Ontario, Canada. So
I was gonna say something. I was like, it's funny because I live really close to Canada. I'm about an hour away from, but like I haven't really met that many Canadians. And I was listening to your accent. I'm like, oh my god, is this guy Canadian?
So funny, eh? And I say, and then I go, it's so funny. I throw that. It's I out myself all the time. I mean, we're an American company. My partner lives in California, but I grew up in Canada. I live here. I lived in Boston actually for a few years, and loved every second of it. But yeah, I'm from just north of the border. Everything is frozen rock solid.
Yeah.
I'm a true let's call it a true Canadian parent. I got an ice rink that we're building in the backyard right now to get out and skate, because all the community centers I'm sure are going to be closed all winter. So it's it's a time.
So what do you fish? Like, what do you fish up north in Canada? I mean, I've had a few Canadians on my show. Jess, she's a farmer though, and she doesn't sound as Canadian as you do, but she's a bit Canadian. But she fishes smallmouth, walleye, Every
Yeah.
now and then hooks into but she mostly fishes like right there, probably close to you. I think she's in Ontario, maybe. I don't know, somewhere like that. I know she fishes Lake Ontario some, and she hits the big smallmouths, and
Yeah,
so
yeah. I mean, I live like 5 minutes from Simcoe, like one of the biggest smallmouth fisheries there is. Like, I mean, it's unreal. I mean, every fall, guys catch an eight. It's unbelievable to be here, and a lot of the lakes where I am are no different than like some of the lakes where you are,
right,
where there's a big largemouth smallmouth mix. I mean, that's where it is. I mean, you can be in the same body of water. You're in you fish a tournament. A mixed bag is a normal thing, other than Simcoe. Let's say if you're fishing for largemouth in Simcoe, you're doing the wrong thing. But it's like you can go flip a weed bed, you can go flip pads, and then you can go out and catch smallmouth on a weed rock mix and all that kind of stuff. One of the coolest parts about Simcoe though is that you can go fish for smallmouth and then like literally go 500 yards and fish for lake trout,
right.
and it's kind of a crazy deal. There's a bit of a thing in the spring when the pipe, like when the ice just goes out. If you get a flat day, you go catch a whitefish, a lake trout, a perch, a pike. You can go put a whole bunch of different things together. So I don't know. I fish for bass. That's me. I
Yeah.
love it. But to go tangle with a 15 to 20 pound lake trout on spinning gear, like literally cut something off that I was just throwing for smallmouth and go tangle with a laker is something that I enjoy doing here and there.
It's funny. I'm acting like you're from a different country, but I'm probably closer than you than I am to anyone else.
It's crazy, eh? Well,
Yeah.
you're 100% right. It's a different country, and we are probably as close, if not closer, than a lot of other people.
Yeah, but I imagine if I just swim across the big lake, like it would look like upstate New York, or if you came down here,
Yeah,
it looked like. I mean, it's not that much different. Like it's. Are you doing any
yeah.
ice fishing at all?
You know what? I don't ice fish a ton, and there's
Me
like
neither.
not that I have anything against it. I don't have a snowmobile, so I don't ride a snowmobile. So I mean, when you're not catching them and it's July and you turn the key and you run a mile and a half, I'm not walking a mile and a half. You know what I mean? It's out in the snow. So I don't know. I had nothing against it. A ton of guys, we get asked a lot about whether or not we'll move into ice gear, and we might as a business, but yeah, not right now. It's not because I don't have anything against it. It's just it's a whole nother category, and I usually spend my winter trying to work on as much as I possibly can to give myself some space for when it's nice. And I'd way rather put on sunscreen
Yeah.
than a floater suit. But not that there's anything wrong with it.
I'm completely against it. I'm not doing it. I've been up in upstate New York since 2011, and I've missed every season. I've bought some stuff. It's just I can't do it. Like it's frozen water. I don't want to get on top of it. I don't want to sit. I don't want to freeze on it. And everyone just goes there and drinks beer. I'm like, yeah, but we can just go to the bar and drink beer too. I mean, and not be cold. But I mean, it's a different. I don't know. I don't get motivated about it's freezing. Like it's like this is a good time for me to take apart my gear, clean it, fix it, store. Get things ready for
Yeah,
next. Take a break.
man.
Work on some other things. Do that honey to do list that I put away. All summer long. So I'm not really into the ice.
You and I are in the same. I'd say the same boat, but like same kayak, the same whatever you want to put it as. But yeah, we're in the same spot, man. Me and you. I'm not. Again, for those that love it, have at it. For me, I get my gear in order, I get my world in order, and then we head back at it once the weather's a bit warmer.
Yeah, guy. I don't know. It's been a weird winter for us. It's mid December or late December, almost January. We got snowed last night, but like the day before that, there was grass everywhere. There was no snow. There's open water. I could definitely go on the
Yeah.
rivers here if I wanted to, but it's not been that crazy upstate winter that I've
Yep.
come to know. It's been
Man,
like it's been wild.
we had the same thing. It was like the third week in November, and it was like the weather was like in the high 60s. Where I am, and my kids were like, again, they love it. They're like, can we go on the boat? I'm like, you bet we can, right? Like you head out, you go for a rip, and it's like the water was in the low 40s, but the air was in the high 60s. It was like the weird one of those like weird things. So we're in the same thing, but yeah, no, it's been a weird one. I think there's a lot of. I mean, we're in lockdown where I am, so there's a lot of people that wish that they could go out and walk right now, but a lot of the lakes. The back lakes are frozen right now, but a lot of the main lakes and everything are all they're all still relatively open or super unsafe. So yeah, it's the same thing here, but there's a lot of guys that'll be itching to get out there because there's not a whole lot else to do.
Yeah.
So
all right, so you're one of the owners of Woo. Tell us about Woo, like who you are for Woo, kind of like the beginning of it. I mean, it's come to be a popular tungsten company, which we can talk about that a little bit too. But I definitely know who Woo is. Like I haven't really committed to any weight companies yet. Like I just there's a deal on this one. I grab it. So tell us who Woo is, kind of its roots.
Yeah, it's I mean, number one thing for us is, we're anglers. As I said, Chris, my partner that we run the business with, like we met fishing tournaments together, like sleeping in the truck, camping in weird places, like that kind of stuff, just to fish. And so that's how we grew up. And so in terms of Woo, like what the business is, we're basically moving towards, as fast as we can, to be the place you can find anything tungsten. If you want it in tungsten, we're doing our best to bring it in as fast as we can in a way that makes sense. And I think that's been interesting, right? Like I think that's because you make anything that was in lead in tungsten, like let's take a spinnerbait, but there's not as big of an advantage, right? Like we're trying to go, hey, if it's touching the bottom and it's going to like increase your feel and sensitivity, that's where we're rolling. So we've got a whole bunch of different products. We got flipping weights and drop shot weights. I mean, those are always going to be the most popular. Things like shaky heads and wacky heads and a bunch of different stuff. Swim bait hooks. We're working on it. So Tokyo rig should be out real soon. Jika rig will be out there as well in the first part of the year. Tube jig heads, just things that matter, right? And so that, as anglers, we're just going, if there's something we can move into tungsten that was lead, whether it's some of the states right now, honestly, that ban lead, or if it actually gives you an advantage to catch a fish. That's what we're trying to build. So we're a tungsten company, terminal tackle company, probably the least sexy category in fishing, right? It's like, I don't know, like they're weights, right? But like
I hate spending money on it. I know I need it and I use it. It's like fish line. It's the most important thing that you can own,
man.
However, when I get online, I'm looking for things that I want to go buy a crankbait because they're sexy,
exactly, man.
Cool. Like
I completely agree. I agree, right? And I think like for me, like it's funny to say it's like the least sexy category, but it's so funny, right? Like it's almost like it'd be like buying a sports car and just putting garbage tires on it. Like, why would you, like, what are you going to do? Like, you take all that time, you spend the money on, let's say, the boat and everything else you're doing and the electronics and everything else, right? Or you trick out your kayak to be what it's going to be. You spend money on the gear and the rods and the reels, but someone doesn't want to spend the extra buck on a weight that's literally going to help you catch more fish. And so I understand, like, believe me, I understand it. That's why the company exists. But it's like, that's where it came from, right? Like we were just talking about where you fish. Like for us, I love to flip beds for largemouth and flip that like 8 to 10 foot weed line. I was so sick of getting bit off by pike, right? Like it was that summer, it was like 2015, 2016, and tungsten was becoming more and more popular. And it was late summer. And so I was flipping a 3/4 weight, right? Because they're thick, beds are thicker. And I was flipping it and it made such a difference. I'm like, this is unbelievable. But it was brutal to have those. Like, it was like $9 a weight at that point. Yeah. It was crazy. So, when you feel the thump and you lean back and you get halfway through a hook set and it's like gone, and it was just a pike or whatever else, right? Like I had enough of it. So I was honestly starting to look for a tungsten sponsor, and there just weren't a lot of them.
Right.
It's just, and I was like, well, if I'm looking for them, I bet a lot of other people were, and there were options, I guess, right? But I was like, man, there's just not a lot of tungsten companies out there. So it kind of went to that point, as I said, like back to dragging a cooler around, selling soda to construction workers because I knew I could do it for cheaper than the snack truck. It was almost like being able to do the same thing. I'm like, if I'm looking for this, someone else is, and again, a partner of mine that I was like, hey, look, like this is something we could maybe do. And so we started playing with it, and that's all it was. Like, it was starting to play with it, started to build a community, which is, I think, the biggest part of any business. If you can build a community, you can put a good product in. Like, you can't, it's almost like you can't have a bad product. That's the non-negotiable. It's a garbage product and you put it in a good community, like it's going to get rejected by that community. But if you build a community, and as long as the product's good, like we could have probably introduced anything, if I'm being honest, like with it. But the tungsten, just, it felt like a fit. And for me, like I, as an angler, genuinely wanted and needed that, felt other people would. And then it kind of took on a life of its own. So, it's been for us, like Woo is more, as I said, it's probably the least sexy category. And like, who wants to go spend $100 on weights? But like for us, it's more about like, we came up with a name because it's what we used to shout. It's what we used to shout. It's what we still shout when we catch a giant. It's just, so for us, it's more about like building a community of people who love to fish, genuinely love to fish. And then from there, it's like, oh, and by the way, we also have tungsten weights, but it is Woo Tungsten, and it is a weight company that is an angler based business. And we do our absolute best to make some great products. Like the Ned Head took us almost 2 years to put together because it had to be right. Right. Like it was one of those things. So, flipping weight, that's a pretty generic deal. But when it comes to like Neds or shaky heads or any of the other like kind of things that we've done along the way, it's because I'm throwing it in Simcoe. I'm knocking them off my counter into a 5-gallon pail to see if they'll stand up when they hit water, right? Like it's that kind of stuff is how we build it.
Cool. Now what has been like the because you want something that's yours, right? And I think it's one of the hardest parts about fishing. Or building or getting in the fishing industry, because right now everyone's making their own jigs, everyone's making their own rods, everyone's making these things, and everyone's trying, whatever. I don't know if they're trying to get big or they're just whatever. They want to be a small custom, but everyone's doing it in some way or another. Like, is there anything you guys are doing specifically with that you're really trying to like make yours, make you, I guess an industry that's kind of saturated in a way?
Yes and no, man. Like you can only like, what are we gonna do? Go reinvent the flipping weight? Like exactly. No, right? So, but I mean, we did little things like punch weights on the size on the side, right? Like all of our weights, like everyone's had it. If you got a boat, you throw, or the kayak, you got like, you got a whole bunch of weights that are hanging in a cup holder or whatever. You have no idea what they are. Like, how the hell are you going to tell the difference between a 3/16 and a 1/4 ounce in tungsten? Like, you're never going to have a clue. I saw an article actually of a Bassmaster Elite Series angler who literally, we were just talking about the off season, likes to clean out your gear. They basically have like a little scale and they weigh out all of it and then they recalibrate all their stuff. I'm like, we just stamp the size into the side so that you can see a handful. So there's little things like that, but I think for us, like the Ned's a good example where we put a higher end Gamakatsu hook in that. I think that's a cool one. We've got the Tokyo rig that's coming out. We're going to play around with that, where the typical Tokyo rig's like a 2.5 inch. There's really only VMC that makes it right now. Right. So we've got that, but we've also got a 4.25 inch because I wanted to play with it. Our drop shot weights are painted. There's still I can't believe we're like, why doesn't anyone paint weights? Like, you paint your flipping weight. We get this like shiny thing dragging behind a drop shot. Like we just painted them because that's what we wanted to do. So there's like little nuances, like again, painting drop shot weights, stamping sizes on the corner, on the side of it, so you can see exactly what it is. The Ned with a gammy hook, it's a stronger, bigger hook because we feel like it matters, like that kind of stuff. We're trying to add in. End of the day, a weight's a weight, but we're going to try and do something to make it just a bit better, clearly better than lead, but better than what you can get, let's say, somewhere else. I don't think we're going to go reinvent the wheel. I think the biggest thing is that a lot of tungsten companies, like you can go buy a flipping weight or a drop shot weight, but to be able to go buy like 15, like you said, if you want to go restock and you have to go like pick and poke from like 9 different brands, you can come to the site and literally like fill out your assortment of what you need. We're just trying to make it easy. You mentioned packs, like those packs, things like that for us have been great. They're not easy to do, but they're also not that complex. And we're just trying to make it like one click and it's done. And you've got some awesome gear to be able to go use. And that's it.
Yeah. I think that's one thing I did like about it because I flip and I punch, but it's not like that's not like my go-to. So it's not like I study exactly what I need, and I'm not like how I am with like my crankbaits and my my jigs and my chatterbaits. I know what I need. So when I go on a tackle or whatever, type of warehouse, whatever, I'm just bam, 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 and I get everything I need. When it comes to like tungsten or weights and stuff, it's just like, what do I really want? What do I need? Should I spend $1,000 on every size? And so it's nice to have like a little package where I'm like, all right, just give me that damn pack and I'm gonna put that in my tackle box, and I got
And I'm set.
I
Yeah, yeah.
got enough to get me by until until flipping and punching becomes something that I'm really, that's one of my go-to things. Right now, it's just kind of like my own shit, it's my own shit technique or whatever. But
100%, man, 100%. And I think especially in a kayak and everything else, like you only have so much room, right? Like you've only so much room. You can't have like you're not going to have like 14 different sizes of flipping weights every single time you go. You're not loading a 21-foot bass boat, right? Like you got to be able to have like what you need and carry on.
Well, and not just that, it's also like people they punch and they flip all the time, but it's like, but for me to be like really efficient at that, like I need to buy more stuff for my kayak to make it more. I gotta buy a power pole, or I gotta buy a spotlight motor or something like that. Things like because I mean that's what we battle conditions more than like the bass, but we battle the wind more. We battle currents, and so you're sitting there trying to flip, trying to punch an area or flip it into an area. You're not still. The water's moving you, and
Well, I think for sure, man, and I think it's like things like our for stuff like that. It's like the swim bait hook, right? Like the swim bait hook just matters. To be able to put a 3/8 ounce on a 3/0 hook with a piece of lead would be just ugly. Yeah. It'd be brutal, right? But you could do it in tungsten. But yeah, I 100% agree. Like you guys get, when I say you guys, the kayak world, you guys, it's a whole different physical game with it for sure.
So now, what was the beginning like? I mean, just starting a company. Like I said, I know a lot of guys who make their own stuff and they're selling customized stuff, but they're doing it out of their basements or they got small local, push for them. But I mean, you guys are pretty national level tungsten weights. That starting point. When you guys decide you guys want to do this. Like growing a business, like I said, in an industry that's kind of saturated. I know the tungsten is kind of a newish thing, but one thing you learn about fish, like as soon as one person starts doing something or two people starts doing something, you start seeing like a trickle, like everyone, like you start seeing the numbers, and all of a sudden whatever that special thing was or that one thing was, it's no longer that like there's other companies that are going to be trying to do it or something like that. So is there anything you guys were doing in the beginning that like it kind of pushed you guys forward? That kind of gave you like the I guess the ground or whatever, the framework for like your guys' success.
Yeah, and I think 100%. I mean, I said the word a few times. I think in community, that was the biggest thing for us to build to start, right? Like whether you're from Texas, whether you're from upstate New York or Florida or California or Tennessee or like wherever it is, having that group of people that love to fish. Like a lot of people think about it product first. Hey, I want to go make this stuff. I'm going to pour my own plastics, or I'm going to make this whatever, you're talking about. We went community first. We went the other way. We went, hey, look, like, let's see if we can pull together a bunch of people. I mean, 4 years ago, Instagram was different than it is right now in the sense of like saturation and what have you, but it's still the same stuff, right? Like we put together, you take any bigger popular brand, like they've got a pretty big community, then they go product. Like if you take a big company that already exists, one of those like take a Strike King. I mean, they can do anything they want at this point, but it's because they've got it set already. They've got that community and the network. So we built the network first. We built as much of an interactive social community as we possibly could, and then we introduced the product. And the community for us is still number one. We're going to put out a good product. I say that because never going to put something out that I won't use. So like the product is secondary. I think that's the biggest difference. We're not trying to get into like our local tackle shop. Like we really only started into retail in the last like 18 months. And if I'm being super honest, it's pain, right? Like we'll do it, but like it's really, we do retail to support retailers, especially right now. There's a lot of retailers that can't get gear, and we're pumped to be able to get them gear because we've got inventory, and that's a pretty easy thing for us to do right now. But it's actually the retail line for us is about getting exposed to more anglers that don't know us because they don't, they're not part of that online community. They'll come in, they'll shop, they'll see our gear, and they'll know who we are. So, for us, I think a lot of people go, I'm going to build a product and sell it. We went like, we got to build a community of people and then introduce a product to it. And it was a big difference maker for us.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too, because it's, I think they're different. Like everything's like so social media social media based, and like a lot of people just aren't going into stores and things like they used to, and just and buying something that that it's just already been like this, established dynasty like Strike King or whatever.
Mhm.
But I mean, to me, it seems like it's easier if you really want to be successful. This is like what you're saying, like build a community, because I mean, if you put something cool, you get a cool logo, you get a cool catchphrase. You find someone with a lot of energy and you put them on Instagram, whatever. You make little videos of them. They get followers, and then those followers they become like loyalists. They become nationalists, whatever, woo nationalists,
Yeah,
whatever. And
I love that.
they start buying. They start buying into the idea of whatever, and whatever your framework is, or whatever your pillars, your beliefs are. Like it's easy. Like it's like you create like not only you create like clients that are going to be around for. I don't know if it's clients the right word, or customers or whatever going to be around.
Yeah.
But they're really into the product, and they love to buy the product, regardless of whatever else is already on the market. So they get like this crazy loyalty, and you see it all the time. Like I mean, like look, I'm wearing this hat, I'm wearing a Black Rifle, hoodie because I'm a veteran and it's veteran owned, and blah blah. Like look at me, I'm wearing a hoodie. This guy's getting whatever free. Whatever marketing for me. I mean, granted, I only like 2 people listen to the show, but that's 2 people who gonna, whatever, see this. So it's like, I think Black Rifle Companies is one of the, a great example, kind of like what you're talking about.
Perfect example
of guys who become. I don't know if there's a coffee company bigger than them right now, or that has as much push as them. And it started off with like videos and dick jokes and whatever. And now it's an empire, and they got their hands in everything now. Started off, like I said, it's a clothing company or YouTube videos, and now they're one of the biggest coffee companies that are helping veterans across the world who are donating this or sponsored. They're sponsoring the Bassmaster events and all these things. But like you said, they built a community way before their coffee company ever got huge.
They could have put, and honestly, it's Black Rifle, insert here, right? Like that's kind of, and that's like a compliment to them, not a negative. Like that's why, again, we ask all the time, like, are we worried about like other tungsten companies coming up? And I'm like, not really. And it's not a negative. I mean, awesome. Like I love the idea of somebody loving tungsten and sourcing it and selling it in their cloth. Like go for it. Like if someone wants to get, like, go for it. But like what you just mentioned is not easy, right? Like it is a massive thing. And our company's 4 years old. So 2016 is when we really started, November 2016. And it's harder today than it was then. Where people think like the get off the ground is the tough part. Man, it's tough right now. Like it's the noise gets louder, the volume is there, the stuff that you do, like, you know what I mean? Like I think it's like, is somebody really into that? I mean, it's almost 9 p.m. Eastern here, and I'm like, yeah, like I'll jump on. I loved it because I love it. Like I actually genuinely want to be sitting here and talking fishing and talking the business and whatever else. That's going to be the difference, I think, between businesses that want to go from like one level to the next, whether it's fishing or something else or whatever. Like, if someone's trying to win on product, you're screwed, right? Like Black Rifle Coffee. I saw them at the Classic last year. We expoed there. Man, I was impressed by what they did, where they put themselves. Like they were super smart. We went and got, I saw those guys every day because I needed one because we're at the expo, right? We were running on a booth and whatever. But like, I was impressed by it. But it was like, it's like a, skill recognizing skill where I was like, that was the first time I'd seen them. But I was like, yeah, no, they've got that side of it. And that is the element. It's not the product, because their coffee's good.
Yeah.
I can't say it's the best coffee I've ever had. Because I couldn't say, you know what I mean? Like I love coffee. I drink a ton of coffee, but it's what you just talked about of like veteran, like that whole thing. Like you're talking about like dick jokes and all that other stuff. Like that's going to land only with a certain group. Yeah. It's going to turn off another group, and they've figured out how to like lean into the group that they are genuinely and truly a part of.
Yeah.
And they're going to win. And that's awesome.
Yeah, because honestly, I'm not a big coffee drinker. I just buy their coffee and I buy their clothes because I just love the culture. I love the you know what I mean? 100%. Like I love supporting those guys. There's no way that Folgers is ever going to get that kind of no one buys Folger because they think Folgers is cool.
No, it's because it's in the grocery store and you can throw it in your cart at the same time.
You're at Walmart, you need coffee, you go get whatever.
Grab it.
Yeah, but you like most of the people that buy Black Rifle Coffee they buy it and they know who the owner is. They know who all their characters are. Like they know the company. And
Mhm.
it's important to buy into them. It feels like sometimes, like me, I feel like I betrayed them if I don't buy their coffee.
I love that. That's amazing. But that's what you just talked about is like that's like the X factor, right? Like as I said, I think that's the X factor. 4 years ago, we knew, we said 3 to 5 years there was going to be a million small tungsten companies, and there's nothing wrong with being a small tungsten company. Like, good for anybody who wants to do that, and like, because they're passionate about fishing and they want to make some extra money or whatever they want to do, like, go for it. It's just a different level at a certain point, where you've got to be able to operate it in a different way to manage, let's say, like the noise, right? Like, I think that's just where it is. And that's kind of what it's been for us, because as the community gets bigger, you deal with more problems. There's
Right.
the more people you put in a party, the more likely it is something's bad's going to happen. That's kind of what we work with.
Yeah, you gotta start worrying about it, and you can already see it somewhat in like black rifle companies, big as they got. Like, you start seeing like if you do something that doesn't make a certain person happy, you become a sellout, or or you do this, you do that, and like, well, now, like, they used to be great, but they're not what they used to be, because they expected you to stay the same forever, not realizing that your company needs to grow and you need to constantly be evolving and changing with time, no matter what kind of company you're with. You see, I mean, I looked at the what's that crazy group of they made the plastic, the Guggen squads. Like,
Yeah.
a year ago, 2 years ago, everyone was really happy about them. Now, I feel like there's like a fence. Like, you're either with Guggen or you're against Guggen or Goggins,
No
whatever they're
doubt,
called.
man.
And it's got to be I guess a challenge, that part of it. Because I mean, I guess that's where, like, social media can help you, but it can also bite you in the ass,
Yeah.
with whatever you're trying to do. And whoever gets upset and starts hashtagging or making a unique hashtag for you, or a shitty pose or shitty meme, and I imagine that it can be as much of the firestorm as like early success.
It's as I said, it's different. They're different categories, right? Like, I think about, I mean, sport for me is huge. Like, I think about, you play whatever you do. Like, you say you ski, or it's a winter, like, you want to be like, you go out and recreationally ski, the chance of getting killed is pretty low. But if you go and like want to try and make an Olympic team and start going 100 and whatever miles an hour down a frozen hill, the chance of you getting killed is a lot higher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of thing, right? Like, so like, where do and where do you want to play, right? Like, I say, because I ski, I love to ski, it's fun. I'm never going to the Olympics. I don't want to deal with the stuff that you would need to do to get there. And that's but I'm the opposite, let's say, in the fishing world and in the fishing business. And we plan on running multiple companies over a lot of different years. And I think about it in a decade. It's not like a year. Like, 2020 was a great year. Like, I know a lot of people were challenged, and it wasn't an easy year. But I think about this as like the decade. Like, what are we going to do between, like, so there's going to be good years and bad years. So I think that, like, that's a big piece of like what you're talking about and dealing with. And yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, people have like completely different opinions of me, and they've never met me, right? Because I can't meet everybody. But like, this is like, this is why I love the podcast, and this is why we started off talking about, like, reached out to you to be able to go, hey man, like, how are you? Like, I'd love to be able to talk to more people, right? And get to know more people and continue to be a part of the community. And we're doing more now for that than we used to. Like, we're doing we're like, oh, we're going to start this business and go jump on some podcasts. I'm doing more now because I think of what you just said. It's more important to let people know who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing it and all those other things as you get bigger versus the other way around.
Yeah. Because you want, even with the podcast, like, you want people to buy into it. I'm not saying necessarily with cash, but you want them to buy into it. You want them to feel part of it, because like I said, most companies, they're only success because they've just been around for 1,000 years, and there was no one else really doing it, and there was only one way to promote your products, and products were only sold in a certain way. And now it's no longer like that. Now anyone can be successful. As long as they can convince people that they're worth buying into, and being liked, being believable, being a good person, an exciting person, and depending on what you're doing, a motivational person. When people watch your video, do they get hyped? When you're out there using a certain product and you're fishing for, do people believe that you enjoy using that product and you enjoy, things like that? And then they say, they buy a T-shirt because for whatever reason. I mean, I think that's the biggest part, I guess, now, if you really want to be successful with anything or in this, is like making people feel part of it, like make it feel like it's theirs as well. Is it in there? like you said, I guess the best word is community.
But it's being genuine in that, right? Like when I say, like, if someone's doing that to because they think that's how they're going to grow the business or sell more product, they're fucked. Like, it's not going to work, right? Like, you're in trouble. I loved being at the Classic last year. My favorite part of the Classic last year is we ran a contest, and we work with Seth Fider, and he's obviously a great dude, and he fits our brand because he's just another normal guy, right? But what we ran is a contest to be able to ride through weigh-in in his truck. And the reason we did that, the whole thinking about that was like, that's going to blow someone's mind. And if I was at the Classic, I can't even imagine how cool that would have been to win. And,
right.
so we ran it, and like the person that we drew was about a 12-year-old kid who was able to get in early with his family and go into the boatyard and meet Seth with his dad, check a bunch of stuff out. Like, I just loved that. Like, that was like, when I think about that, like, I'm not talking about like how many weights do we sell or what do we do? Or I don't know. Like, to me, like, the whole part of what, like, my favorite memory of the Classic, I have two. One, the first trip, our first kid was 5 months old. We went to the Classic. I think that's super cool. And then that ability to do that when, a 12-year-old, walked up, and we got him to get, we decked him out in gear, and we got to ride through the Classic in the back of Fider's truck. So, we're talking about community like that. Those are like, if you're going to do, I couldn't be in the veteran community because I'm not a veteran. I couldn't fake it. I probably could, but only for so long. And we'd be about this far into the podcast and you'd be like, this guy's full of it. Like, you can't, you know what I mean? Like, so you can't, like, that's the thing, is like, you can't be like, I'm going to go be this person to sell more product. You're either there or you're not. And I think that's another piece that gets missed every once in a while. And, I'm genuine about it right now. I mean, my boat does not hit the water right now anywhere near as much as I would want it to, but I'm in a different chapter of life. That's why we have Woo, because I get to go like elbows deep. And in 5 years from now, when my kids are a bit older and may or may not want to come out with me, like, then I'll probably be out there more, right? Like, I think like that's just the way it is. But if I was, even if I was sitting here talking about like all the tournaments I fish, all the other things, like trying to make it something that it's not going to last.
Right. That's a good point. So I gotta ask you this. Like, I don't know why this is kind of controversial. I don't know why it's controversial, but it's something I see. Like, you got this. I don't know. It might just be like more in the kayak world and just in some of the forums that I see. But like pro staff, that's it seems to be like a hot. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because to me, when I see someone that's like, talking shit about pro staff, I see someone who, like, what do you care? Like, why do you care if someone?
Yeah.
I don't understand why you care so much. Why does it bugs you so much that this person's getting whatever discount, and this person's even if if a person's treating their pro staff like they're sponsored, like, why do you care? Let that guy be happy. Like, I don't know if it's considered. I mean, the guy's happy as shit, and he's posting pictures, and the only thing that you can post is a meme making fun of people that are happy. Like, I never understood it. I never really been big myself in the. Like, I don't really have many pro staffs or anything like that. Like, I mean, I'm not against them, but it's just like when I see people do it, I'm like, well, good for them. And they got like 1,000 stickers on their boat. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Well, go to NASCAR. Like, everyone, it's no different. I think my belief. So a couple things. One, we clearly have pro staff. We call it the pro staff family because we genuinely feel the way we like. Literally, the entire Classic. We talked about the text messages. Like, that's genuinely my fingers that are sending out text messages to people. Like, it was crazy. Like, Christmas Eve, I literally sat there for 5 hours and wrote back to text messages because I sent out one that's clearly I can't send out a text message to that many people individually. Right. It's clearly going to be a mass text, but one that I wrote, and then I sat there for 4 hours and wrote back to people because that's a piece of it. And I think of them in a different way. I think the rub with pro staff is when somebody takes it as they're like a tournament angler, or they're serious, and they see somebody who they think is like, let's say, not as qualified as they are in the fishing world, and they think of it as professional staff, but it's really a promotional staff.
Right.
That's the thing, is like pro staff. So like, would they shit on the person the same way if they were working in the tackle store?
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, that's the difference. I think it's a complete misunderstanding as to what pro in pro staff means. Yes, we work with Seth Fider, we work with Mark Jones Jr., we work with Josh Douglas, we work with some of these like professional anglers. That is a different category and a completely different deal than our promotional staff. And I think that is the rub that a lot of people get, is that when they see somebody, it's the only sport in the world that you can like wear the same jersey as somebody. You can't go to the Bills game, let's say. I'll say Bills if you're upstate New York, but like, you can't go to a Bills game and throw on pads and jump on the field. You can do that in fishing. And I think that's where some guys get rubbed the wrong way. I'm on your side of it, right? Like, I don't work with a ton of other companies either, because I'm not going to go spend the time and energy to promote. And on the flip side,
I'm not really going to do anything for you. And
on the flip side, it's like, I never even worry. I didn't even talk to you about, like, seriously, when I messaged you, I didn't talk to you or anything about whether or not you work with another tungsten company. I just wanted to be part of expand our community. So I think of that, like, when we think about our promotional staff, our team, our pro staff are the people that, like you talked about, like, go to work with a Woo t-shirt under their actual other shirt, right? Like, are the ones that'll go to like Christmas dinner wearing a Woo shirt because it's Woo, but they know it's fishing, but their family may not, but they're okay. Like, so they're cool with that because like their wife or their mother-in-law or whatever it is isn't pissed that they keep wearing their fishing gear everywhere. Like, that's what our group is. It's the promotional staff. So, direct your question of like that. Yeah, it's a controversial thing right now. We do read all of our, there's definitely a lot of other, and I think of other tungsten companies right now that we, just so everyone knows, we're on every tungsten company's pro staff, right? Like, I have an alias that we have, and we're part of it, like, because we want to know what's up. I just want to learn. And that's honestly me not like doing intel. I know what everything is. I just want to like be part of the community and continue to learn. But when I say those things, like, I know there's other companies that are instantaneous acceptances. And I think that frustrates some people too, because it's an instantaneous acceptance where somebody else can go out and talk about it like they are, like they've earned something. And I think that frustrates people too, right? Like, it'd be like me wearing, and it's a super sensitive one, I would imagine, but like, it'd be like me wearing anything veteran oriented, because like you and I are, let's say, connected. That doesn't necessarily give me the right. I didn't earn it. And that would probably frustrate another group significantly, as it should in some of those other things. So that's my take on it, at least, is like, people think that they're like promoting something that they didn't earn, right? Or that they're not like qualified to have. And I think there's other people that promote it like they're a professional fisherman. Meanwhile, they're a promotional staff member. In exchange for promotion, they get a discount on product. And that's kind of where I think that friction gets created.
That's well put, but like, in my mind, I'm just like, I just think it's some bitch ass shit. You know what I mean? I'm sitting there like, I read their comments. I'm like, look, they get a 15, whatever, 20% discount. They talk a lot. They talk all about this product. You help them, they help you. It's this guy, and then it helps you guys because it builds up like a whatever. These people are gonna like, it's with Black Rifle Coffee. I'm a member of the Black Rifle Coffee Club. Okay, I get discounts. I get free shipping, and anyone can get that, whether you're a veteran or not. And I'm part of the club. I'm not an employee.
What you just said, you're 100% right. Anybody who's worried about what anyone else is doing is wasting their own energy. It's insane. It's silly. I completely agree with you on all that stuff. And it is something that, when put into the right context, I think everyone would think that they're a bit silly about it. And why wouldn't somebody apply? And we decline people because they're not going to best represent our community, or they don't have the reach to bring other people into our community. But at the same time, like, you're 100% right with how you talk about it and how you think about it. But you're in one category, I would say, of that group of a lot of people right now.
But like, go back to you were saying, like, the whole veteran thing, like, there are differences. But like, one thing that I guess, like, I have a hard time with, it's just fishing. It really is.
Man, it's just fishing. It's just fishing.
They call it sport, but I've never seen, I've seen fat fishermen, I've seen skinny anglers, I've seen, one, smoking cigarette. Okay, these aren't like the best athletes in the world going head to head. When they're on the field, they're bleeding. Grant, look, call it grinding if you want, and it doesn't bother me. But when an angler says they're grinding, it doesn't bother me. Go ahead and think you're grinding, but it's like, I played sports. I was in the military. Like, when I think of grinding, I think of like shit that hurts. I take a shit
Yeah.
that makes you cry, and you get bigger, stronger, faster, or you get mentally tough or whatever. And that's, I mean, those are, but fishing's not like that. Fishing's just, I mean, I love it. It's one of my, since I've got out of the military, it's like, it is like my retirement thing. I love doing it. I do it as much as I can. But in the day, it's like, don't treat this like another sport or like, their adventure. This is just fishing. Like, anyone can do it. Everyone can do it. On any given Sunday, someone can win a tournament, like whatever. I mean, it's just that kind of sport or whatever you want to call it. And so I just don't see why someone would care that someone's getting a 15% discount, putting a sticker on their kayak, happy as shit because they're part of whatever club they wanted to be in, that they applied in. I mean, you know what sucks? Like signing up for a club that you really want to be in and then get denied. That's happened to me a few times in life. Okay, so if someone's happy to be Woo or Tungsten, whatever, like I'm happy for,
man.
sticking your boat up, man. Have fun.
Amen. Amen. I mean, amen. All of the above, my friend. That is what it is, especially in today's world and everything they're working on. Like,
people just
exactly. Shitting on somebody for having fun doing something they like.
I don't know. He's getting a 15% discount. I could get it if I wasn't such an asshole. You know what I mean? But
that's honestly what that is what it comes down to.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I like, because I knew people. I already know I'm gonna get some shit for not by everyone. There's gonna be people that are gonna love this show. There's gonna be some people that's like, why are you talking to them and ask this? I'm like, well, I'm gonna ask the question that you guys don't want to ask them. And
I'm in, man. I love it.
I see it all the time. It's just like, well, this, that. I'm like, well, did you ever talk to anyone over there? Did you ever like you have no idea what they're trying to do? Like, I mean, you've assumed what they're trying to do, but have you actually talked to them? No, all you did. But so I had to ask the question about the pro staff.
Hey man, I'm super glad you did. Honestly, like I think it's I'm super glad you did because it is a piece of the industry right now that I don't think is going away anytime soon. And there's always going to be that divide.
Well, like get away from the assholes but like just like the just like specific about pro staff. What is it like? Cause it's different. It's a different way of market. Like you don't see a lot of other different like industries really doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt.
But I mean, like, how much is that worth to you guys as far as? Because I mean, a lot of times, like, I mean, how much do you really got to invest in marketing and stuff like that? I mean, obviously you do. I guess you do. I guess I can change that because you do kind of invest in this because you're giving out discounts, whether it's free shipping or whatever. But like, it's definitely got to make things easier and more helpful for you guys to have a strong pro staff team, even a giant pro staff team, right?
It's huge. Like I mean, a couple things. Like I think of like again, guys from all across the country that I would never know that I literally have text conversations with. I think that's unbelievable. Like that's why I mean, again, pro staff is because I actually want to do. I want to be involved in those things. I think pro staff for us is huge. What it does is it fast tracks everything. So if you've got a terrible product, it's going to fast track you out of business. If you've got a good product and a good company, it's going to fast track you into good stuff because you're basically what you're doing is you're igniting the share speed of everything. The fact that I can go post something right now and hit like 170,000 people. I know it doesn't get shown there, right? Et cetera, like call it whatever, but all across the country, like is unbelievable. And then from there, when I can go into like the next layer across that for all those different things, man, it's huge. It's huge, huge, huge. But being able to, as best as you possibly can, without sitting down and doing a job interview with somebody, keep the assholes out of it is really, really challenging. But we have a full-time person that manages it. I mean, he's an unreal guy. The amount of crap that he wades himself through to try to keep it as pure as we possibly can. So it's kind of like it's a blessing and a curse. It fast tracks everything, and and you're always going to deal with issues. Like, we've had people that put fake applications in.
Yeah, I was going to mention one to you. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I had a guy who was talking shit, and he's like, "Well, my dog fishes for Woo," and I'm like,
"There you go, that guy." That was it. But so take that for what it is. But when you fill in the application, and I don't honestly, I don't even remember the person's name because it doesn't stick with me because I don't care.
Exactly.
But but if your dog's name's like, I don't even remember what it was, but Luna or whatever, I don't know, whatever, a dog name that's like somewhat normal, and you put in like in there you're a social media number of following, you put in the number of tournaments you fish, you actually fill the application in like a human being, you're the asshole. Because what are we going to do? We're looking at it, we're reading the name, we're reading through it, we go, hey, this person looks but it happens to be your dog. Like, go waste your time doing something else. And I think like that so I completely agree with you. That's the challenge, but it fast tracks that. We can't control every piece, but if someone goes and wears Nike and does something stupid, it's not Nike's fault. It's the stupid person's fault.
Well, that's what I think.
So
like, I kind of look at the pro staff like the same way I looked at like my membership to Black Rifle. Like, anyone can sign up for it, and they're going to take you. But the thing is, it does good for them because, you know, if I'm a diehard Black Rifle guy, I'm hashtagging it. When I get a new shirt, I might take a picture with me in it because, you know, I'm proud to be. I wouldn't say like I don't really see that I represent their company, but I'm proud that I invest in that company because I love what they stand for. I love what they believe in. I imagine like the pro staff kind of works that way too, where it's like it's more like a club than it is. Than anything else. Like, we're not, you know, if someone wants to call themselves a pro and they're on from the pro staff, have fun with that, bro. Have fun, dude. Have the time of your life. But I look at it more just like you're building a community of guys who are going to buy your product. That's the pro for you. The pro for them is they're going to get a discount or they're going to get some kind of incentive for being in that club, like you would in any club that you usually have to pay a membership for or be approved or application for. Like, you're going to get some kind of incentive, and like, you know, you're building. To me, it's just a community.
For sure. That's exactly what it is. It's a community. We do our best to keep it pure. And I think the biggest difference, like I said, is that we actually care, right? Yeah. Like, when I say that, it's not like an application. Like, that's where I think you're going to see the lifespan of things happen. And again, that's why, like, somebody who fills out a fake application with their dog and all this other stuff, like, doesn't bother me because I'm like, yeah, well, that one got through. Right? Like, what are you going to say? Like, you spend the time and fill that out. Like, what are we going to do with that? But on the flip side, like, you know, it's me standing in the booth at the Classic. It's me sending out the text messages. It's me doing all those different things because, like, we're building a community, and those are genuine, like you said, like, those are our club. Those are our guys. That is how we feel about it. And if someone takes the time to go to our site and fill out an application and wants to be a part of what we do, it's not an automatic entry by any means to what we do, because there needs to be a value added, right? We're not just trying to acquire a customer. There's like value added, and are they going to share the brand, and are they someone you actually want to be part of your community? But like, that's our standard. It's like, would I want to share a boat with this guy or this girl for a day? Is this somebody that I would have, you know, somebody I wouldn't mind having a beer with or like talking fishing with for a while? If that's who they are, they can be part of our community. That's kind of where we stand. And as part of that, they're going to share our brand in exchange for sharing and promoting our brand. They get a discount and whatever else. And if someone else has an issue with that, that's their problem, man. Like, I'm never going to change that person's mind.
I think it's a great setup. I think it's a great reason. And like, you know, I think that's a great business move too. Cause I mean, it's good. I don't know. You see companies who just spend millions and millions of dollars on advertisement and marketing. It's just like, dude, just use Fred. He loves our shit. He's got an Instagram account. Get after it.
Just use Fred. I love that, man. And we have people that we get messages all the time from people that are leaving other pro staffs to come to ours because they never get they can't get a hold of somebody, right? Or they're trying to do something, or like they're whatever. There's no communication. It was literally just an application and a check mark, and then there's no inventory for them to buy from, or there's no person to talk to because they're just a stat at that point. Like, for us, like, our guys are part of our group. Like, I know people as part of our group, and that's just because that's how we're trying to build it. So, you know, there's, like you said, there's going to be stupid. Yeah, it's you're never get, especially the bigger you get, like, that's fine. And if anyone else wants to fill out a fake application for their dog, there's a chance your dog could fish for Woo, and maybe we'll come out with dog gear. I don't know. Maybe we can get some dogs.
Maybe that'd be next, like a tungsten neck collar. I don't know.
There you go, man. Who knows?
Cool, man. Like, two more things, and we'll wrap this thing up. But like I said, I haven't really talked to any like the big companies yet. Like, I've talked. Like, you're like my second, like, whatever we'll call it, like, tackle company that I've actually had on here. Like, getting like the big guys. Like, how? Like, I mean, you got one of the the biggest guys with the best mustache. You know, that's part of your team. Like, dude, what does it feel like? And then, like, being a company that's only 4 or 5 years Like how is it hard to get something like that? I mean, it's got to feel incredible to nail a guy like that, to have it, because he's got such a great following. He's such a awesome personality. That mustache just shines for
I think
miles.
the
It's just
thing
amazing. I don't like mustaches.
sleek.
When I see his, I'm like, maybe I like mustaches. I don't know, but I mean, like that whole process. I've always curious about that as far as like the sponsorships go, and like, I mean, is it like football where we're bidding for people, or
Yeah, man, it's not much different than that. And Seth, and again, to his credit, awesome dude, right? Like, and just a great guy. And we started working with him 3 years ago. He was a different guy 3 years ago. When I say that, not as a human being, but as a person, and where he was at. And he is a super loyal guy. That's why I stayed with Bass when everything went down. And he kind of is who he is. And so I think the difference, I mean, working with some of the Elite Series guys, yeah, like, I mean, that's a very interesting way to put it, of like professional athletes, right? Everyone's got a different package, everyone's got a different price, everyone's got different expectations. There's just a way, you weigh out cost versus benefit of what you're trying to get and where you're trying to go. And, for us, there's a big piece of like trying to put together a group of guys that get along, that would get along with each other if we're going to put a shoot together or whatever we're going to try and go do. And then to the credit, the biggest, and this goes to any of them, the biggest difference to me is any of the guys that we work with, if we're actually talking about working with somebody and they don't want to check our product out beforehand, it's a no-go for me, because they're just there to collect a check. You know what I mean? Like, I just know what we're getting. But any of the guys that we work with, and again, I'll use Seth or Josh or Mark or any of these guys, are like, can I sample some stuff? Can I take a look at it? Can I fish with it? Can I work with it? Like, I don't want to promote a product that I'm not actually going to go use. So that's an element of it too. And that's not a knock on it. Business is business. A lot of people can do business different ways, but working with some of the elite guys, I mean, it's cool. Like, as I said, when I say it's cool, it's, I'm an angler. I fish. I love it. Like, you're a fan of the sport. It's pretty damn cool to be able to, like I talked about, going to the Classic and being able to go and be a fan, but also contribute and all these different things. Like, I knew for me, I'm never going to fish the elites, right? It's just not where that's not where I'm going. Fortunately and unfortunately, I think, but, to be connected to the sport I love that much in that way is pretty cool. But when it comes to, working with the guys, everyone's got a different package. Everyone's got different expectations. Everyone's going to do different things. Everyone's got different reach. And then it's just a matter of going like, hey, what you're paying for, do they fit the brand? Like, are they going to, does what they're asking for align with what you think you'll get out of it? Like, how does that whole piece work? So, I don't know. It's definitely a different part of the business than what we were just talking about for pro staff, but it's an interesting one for sure.
It's a big difference in the pro staff. And like, one thing I definitely want to ask you about, because kayak fishing is getting big. It's getting bigger. I'm not sure what the cap is for it, but we're still in that growing phase. I mean, Bass bought into us. They're having part of the Bassmaster. Like, we had people watch the stage. One of the things I see that's in kayak fishing that, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but if people want to do things professionally, it's not just about fishing anymore. It's about building like a personal brand, marketing, and things like that. Like, great. I don't know if you actually sponsor any kayak anglers, but I know, like, obviously you got Seth. What are you looking for in that? Because I know, like, the industry just changed, especially this year. It's like it becomes more like, really, what can you do for the company a lot of times more than what the company can do for you. Do you guys look at that as far as, like, if you're going to sponsor someone, do you look at following? Do you look at, like, what they're doing on social media, how they're representing themselves, like they're branding themselves? Because, I mean, you just don't want to, like, sponsor someone and, like, the problem with, like, I see a lot of kayak fishing, like, we got some awesome anglers, guys who are winning the national championship. They don't have 1,000 followers on Instagram. They don't have it, like, what are they? And they don't have any videos or anything like that. I'm not talking shit about them. Like, there's just room to grow. And I'm just wondering, like, like, if you want to get away from pro staff and you want to get into sponsor, like, what are some of the things you're looking for that?
Yeah, that's such an awesome question, because absolutely, reach matters, because what I just mentioned is, like, usually when you get to that level, there's dollars involved and you're looking at our ROI. Like, if I, quite literally, if I go put X number of dollars into a sponsor deal with an angler, or I put it into Facebook marketing, what's going to work better? When I say that, I don't say, like, it's not a leading question. It's genuinely, like, the process that we go through. I think it's super interesting. Like, I definitely feel for like the rock solid anglers with what we were just talking about with pro staff, because there's a lot of guys right now, like you just mentioned, guys, girls, and I lead with guys and I catch myself every time because, man, there's some amazing women anglers right now, like just unreal. Like
I think guys for me kind of just blankets everything when
blankets everything. Well, yeah, and I kind of take it that way. I just
I mean,
for sure, so I don't know. I think like for the person that, quite literally, to me, if somebody's got 25,000 followers and someone's got 2,500, it's not like a 10x value, let's say, one to the other, but it's real. And I think for us, like a lot of those people that, you got a national champion that wins 50, that's got 1,500 followers. What I'd rather do is help them. When I say that, it's like, let's go a gear deal. You guys get gear, and we will help you build your social following so you can get more out of other sponsors. The biggest thing that I would, if I was a kayak angler, so a couple things on what you just said. There's a lot in what you just said. I think kayak fishing has the potential in the next 5 years to go a whole nother level. Reason being for me is I don't know what's going to happen in the economy. That was, I think, a huge thing. But kayak really started growing, and I can't talk about it as directly, but from me on the outside looking in, it really started hitting the radar in 2009, 10, 11, 12, the last time the economy really got hurt. It's a lot easier to put yourself in a kayak and get out there than it is to put yourself in an $80,000 bass boat, right? Like there's just no way around that. And that's going to be especially with the pandemic, like who knows what ends up happening. The accessibility and to be able to get out there is phenomenal. And the quality of that gear has gone to a whole new level in the last decade. So I don't know. I think kayak, I have a ton of respect for kayak fishermen. I think it's something that could really explode. And for us, like if somebody's a top-notch angler and is let's say having, you said, room to grow on like the social reach side, because it's return on investment for a company, period. Right. If you're an employee of a company and they're paying you whatever they're paying you, they're expecting that you're going to provide more value to the company than they're paying you, if it's a job or whether it's a sponsorship. So for us to be able to go in, we do a lot of different things with different guys to help them move that. We may not pay them as much as what they think could happen, or like when I say pay them, it's usually a gear deal, but gear
investment there to kind of
an investment. It's a partnership, right? It's a partnership at that point, and super genuinely. And if I'm going to be super honest, if I was a kayak angler that was at that level, I would not be looking for dollars inside the fishing industry. Right. I'd be going out to outside, because those businesses don't know any different, right? Like the worst thing for me right now is when I get something where someone talks about like their truck being like a moving billboard. So no offense to anybody that has that in there. I'm like, I cannot imagine somebody driving down the interstate, like sees the Woo Tungsten sticker on your truck and is like looking it up. It's just not, it just doesn't like.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of things I see that just doesn't make sense to me. Like
wrapping your truck. But outside the fishing industry, it works. Right. Like for like, because a lot of those companies have giant budgets for big brand, like for branding, like, you want to get in a fight between Coke and Pepsi or Purelator or whatever, FedEx and UPS or whatever, you know what I mean? Like those, they'll pay to wrap it and have it moving around and see their stuff more, because it actually, there's a different value to them. So, if you're looking for dollars, go outside the fishing industry. If you're looking to be more like into the fishing industry and different things, that's a whole different thing. But yeah, you're going to get way more dollars out of GoPro. But then like what you just said, you got to be good at making videos, right? I say GoPro, like you look at Brent Ayler and guys like that, like I'm sure Ayler makes, I shouldn't say because I don't know, but like I would bet makes as much or more from GoPro than does from any fishing sponsor, rightfully so, because he's a contributor to that community in a completely different way than any of the other brands. So again, like you said, I no opinion either way, but like guy wins a national championship with 1,500 followers. Somebody who's a bank angler with 30,000 followers actually has more return on it for us.
That's gonna be my next question. I feel like you see a lot of the pros, I think, getting pissed off, or guys who are just like awesome competitive tournament anglers.
Yeah, man.
But they don't have that presence on social media. They don't have like what we just talked about. But then you got this other group of anglers who, like, to me, are almost more pro than the pros, because like they're getting sponsored, they're getting paid to make videos because they have 100, 200, maybe 500,000 followers, and they've never competed a day in their life, or they gave up competing years ago, I had a guy on my show, the Informative Fisherman, Nick.
Yeah.
He's not a competitive angler. He educates and he makes awesome videos, and he does it professionally. He's able to make a living off it, where he just fishes every day. What do you guys look at like that? Like, do you guys invest? Like, how do you
For
guys?
sure.
You also want to invest in the pros, because regardless of what their, I guess their following is, the followers they do have are some committed followers who obviously follow them for a specific reason, and also they're going to like the big Bassmaster events and things like that, and they're getting a lot of eyes on them. But then again, you have the bank angler who makes these awesome videos with awesome music, and he's got 60,000. Like, how do you guys like balance that crazy?
It's crazy, man. It's so to me. So man, this is awesome. So again, sports team or whatever, like you got to have different positions. People play, there's different positions. You got to like if you're gonna do it, you got to if you want to cover it, you want the biggest reach. Like you can't put your entire team can't be quarterbacks, right? Like you got to have like different positions to play, fill different holes. And so that's the way I think of it. The other one is like I would take the bank angler with 60K over the professional angler with 3K 1,000 times,
how
and
many
pay
people
them.
pissed off? I'm just kidding. But
No, I'm like, but it's ROI, it's reach,
Yeah.
right? It's a big argument, and that goes back to what we were just talking about with like the pro stuff. Like it's reality, because
Right.
what it truly is I think people take it as like basically an assessment of your skill is not in. So in the normal day-to-day job, more or less, the better you are at something, the more you'll get paid. In fishing, it is not that way. It is branding. Sponsorship is branding. So what I'm looking at is like, how far out is the brand going to go? It's the same thing with like level of discounts that we do for our pro staff. Like that's just, no one would ever say that like someone with 6,000 followers was as valuable as someone with 60,000 followers. That just doesn't make sense, because assuming those 60,000 followers are real, it's good. Like, and that's something we do definitely look at and figure out. Like we will figure it out. So with that said, it's like the reach is there. It's about branding. So yes, like there's going to always be that rift between someone who's like, I'm a better angler than you are, and you're getting paid more. But like, if all I'm doing all day, like to get, it's definitely like a friction, because to become a better angler, you fish more. Like but which means you don't have as much time to do all these other things.
Right.
But if you're not doing these other things, you don't have as much value to the company that's there. That's why I'm saying go outside of the fishing world, because to me, like if somebody can get me access to that many other people, regardless of their fishing skill, if somebody sent me a message right now that was like, that didn't even fish, let's say like they didn't even fish, period, but they've got a book of 1,000 retailers right now they're worth way more to me than the best angler in the world, because they're going to help grow the business more. And they don't even fish. So I think like, man, that's such a good for you for asking, because it's such a big thing.
It's a tough conversation, because like a lot of people,
it's real.
The hardcore fanatics are pissed off about this going on, but it's like it's a company. It's like they're not here to. Granted, I know we talked about community and all this other stuff, but we're not here to. We're not here to just make people happy. We're here to get products out. We're here to build this thing, keep it going, pay bills, just
branding.
like everyone else.
It's branding. That's what it is. It's branding. So it's not a knock on somebody like the dollar. So it's not an assessment of your skill. It's an assessment of your reach. And I think that is a huge piece. And again, I said it because the more, if you spend 10 times as much time on the water as somebody else, you're going to become a better angler. So if you want to become an amazing tournament angler, you're going to have a harder time in this other side, because you're not spending. So it's trade-offs. It's going to be trade-offs. Now, that said, you can't be full of it. We've talked about that too. You got to be able to catch them. Like that's just like the ticket to entry. Like if you can't catch them, what are you going to post? Like what content are you even going to put together? So there's a balance there. But if you can't put something that's either entertaining or educational, those are the two categories, period, of content. If it's it's going to be educational and or entertaining, you're going to have a really hard time. You should be starting to think about trying to get checks from businesses outside of the industry,
right?
Which is there's nothing wrong with that, and or winning a bunch of money in derbies. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard go, because our business, like guy wins a national championship, I'm not going to write him a check, even though I know he's got some serious clout in the industry. He might have a connection. He or she might have a connection to like 500 people, or someone else who's like not as great of an angler might have that clout or that access to, 100 times that.
Well, what do you think is going to happen, like, to the sport then? Like, this is just my opinion. What I think is going to happen. I think the newer generation is going to crush it, and these older guys, almost me. I mean, granted, I'm not 40 yet, but I see it in the horizon. When I grew up, here I am. Like, it took me forever to learn how to use this new software we're using, but I'm sure there's a 12-year-old kid who's learning this in tech class in high school right now. I think the younger guys are going to have a better idea of technology, how to use it to their advantage, and they're probably already they're already making videos of themselves fishing right now, putting it on YouTube with their 6 followers or buddies, and they're they're going to become the pros, or even some of the young pros now are doing it because they grew up in a world that was tech savvy, and some of these older guys just didn't kind of grow with the times or evolve, or it's just the way things go sometimes, and I think that. Do you think that like maybe it is going to get back to like where like the where there's going to be a lot more money put into like some of the pro anglers, because they're going to have to figure this out, and they're doing that now. There's a big learning curve. So what do you really think in the future as far as like trying to figure out this balance? We want competitive bass fishing. We want to be an awesome bass. We want that. And we can't take away from all the YouTube nerds who are out there crushing it right now. You know what I mean?
Well, I think people are going to have to make a choice. Like, there's if you a lot of guys they just want to win tournaments. They don't care about all the other stuff. Like, they just don't care, right? They want to live simple. Like, in what we're talking about, I guess we're talking about like the people that want to make significant income from angling versus like love to fish and are super competitive. So like you'll definitely see like guys like a Brandon Pollinek's a phenomenal example of somebody who's made a bunch of money, but he pays guys. He's not doing all that stuff. He's fishing. He's got an employee.
Right.
That's one way to do it. Right. Like, that's definitely one way to do it, is if you have the ability and you've created that space for yourself to bring somebody in to do it, you're going to open up a ton of time for you to go fish. You then need to it's trade-offs, right? Like, which category do you want to do? Do you want to become a world champion, which means you're probably going to have to be lean for quite a long time and be in that world? So like the old guys, if you want to call it that, like, I just don't think a bunch of them are going to care enough. Like, they're going to care about winning the tournament or doing well, and they don't mind paying whatever they got to do or what have you. Then you're going to have the young guys that care more about like this following and those other things, or like the dollars. And then I think you're going to see a group, and we mentioned it a bit before, but like, it's a big piece in my head is like to be able to fill that gap for somebody. Like, for me, again, go back to we do not create a sexy product. Some of our products I think are kind of cool, right? But like, our value to somebody, right? Like, to some of these guys is that I can go, like, somebody comes to the business, they're a national level kayak angler, and they're like, man, I can catch them, but I need help with the reach, and we can have a great partnership. I can move somebody to 10,000 followers like in a year, which I don't know if somebody thinks that's long or short, but I know how to do that, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, if we can have a good partnership and I can move that for you. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to see a bunch of young guys that don't care about winning tournaments, and that's completely up to them. You're going to see a whole nother group of people on the further end of the spectrum that don't care about the following. So they better not care about I shouldn't say better, but they better not care about the dollars, because you're not going to get rich winning fishing tournaments typically, unless you're in like the 0.1%.
Right. Yeah.
So those are the two far ends of the spectrum. And then you'll see like trade-offs all the way in. And if you care more and want to make more, want to have the ability to like monetize and run and do all this other stuff, you're going to be there. If you care more about catching them, you're going to be over on the other end of the spectrum. But the other way is you're going to find people that can find partners, can find interns, can do things on the cheap, where they can have somebody create content for them that doesn't take away their time. That's where the sweet spot I think will be, and that's kind of a spot we fill for some people.
Yeah, that makes sense, and especially when we're talking about that Pollock guy. I didn't even think about that. Like, paying the people and investing in that is actually going to bring more income later on, because now
it's hard, man.
It's yeah, but that's a good point, man. Well, cool, man. Let's wrap this thing up. What does Woo look like in 2021?
Man, I think I'm super excited for 2021. I mean, we've got a bunch of new products coming out. So we'll have a mentioned Tokyo rig coming out in the first part of the year, Jika rig as well. So I know a lot of people are making Jika rigs. I know a lot of guys also just want to pull something out of the package and fish. So we've got that going with some of our drop shot weights, working on a tube head. It's a tube jig head. So really hoping to get that out by May. EWG Ned is coming out too, but that's probably late part of the year. We got a swing head we're working on and a football head we're working on. So if we can get all that done in 2021, that'd be amazing. I don't know that we're going to get it all done in 2021, but we're going to give it a shot, and we're just going to keep on keeping on, man. Like, I don't know. I think, like, for me, I'm looking forward personally to getting on the water a little bit more, I think, this year than I have, and continue to grow our following. Some of the guys that you just mentioned that we're working with, we're playing with a few ideas there, not keeping anything secret. It's just we don't know what they are yet. So some new products, continue to develop the line, continue to grow the business, move down the retail path a little bit further if we can, and then try and get ourselves to that next level of what we were just talking about. We're we're a small business right now. We're a big small business, but we're a small business. So I'd love to be able to add some more infrastructure to what we do as a business to be able to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger, because there's only so much time in the day. But yeah, it's kind of what we're working on.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. This is a good conversation. We covered a lot of stuff, and I thought it was good. So definitely keep in touch. Oh, did you want to? I guess we're going to talk about. We talked about before a giveaway or a discount code. I'm good.
We'll do
way.
something, man. We'll do something. Why don't we figure? Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll do something. I'm sure we'll do a giveaway. Giveaways are fun.
I'll put it on Instagram the next day or two when we decide what we're gonna do. But
who doesn't like winning something? And so giveaway sounds like it'd be a good thing to do and something fun. And yeah, as I said, if anybody wants to check us out, hit us up. We're pretty quick in the DM, and find us where you can find us. It's we love to fish. So for us, like, that's a good thing for us to be able to be busy.
And if you're looking for a pro staff, don't listen to the haters. Just fill an application.
Yeah, man. I think it's know what you're doing, and exactly. Don't listen to the haters. That never gets you anywhere.
All right, brother. I appreciate you coming on. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, you got it, man. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.